I just want to invest in people that really want to be the best that they can be.
Hello, everyone. It's Todd Scrima and Robyn LaVassaur, and we are minus Jim Reed today because he's got the flu, but we have to stay on schedule. So we're doing a podcast. This is for past clients. This is for people that have used Summit funding. Last count is over 400,000 past clients. So thank you very much for your business. We thought we would do, we get a lot of questions these days, like, should I move? Like, I've got this 3% rate. The average, okay, so I got to remember this stat. 68% of Americans have an interest rate of less than 4% on their mortgage. So it's hard when rates are, say, 7, 8%. You're like, should I move? Because the payment's going to go up a lot. So we thought we would tackle that subject and give you some insight. I've got just one opening thought on this, and then I'll turn it over to Robyn because it's a big subject and it's not one size fits all. In general, if instead of, yes, I think it's fine to move, like have more kids, maybe your mother-in-law's living with you and you want an in-laws quarters. I mean, there's lots of job change. There's lots of things that create that. So I don't think it's a bad idea to move. You know, people say date the rate. Yes, you could get a loan and then refinance when rates come down. A lot of times you can do that for free. So it's not that big of a deal. My big concept is, and this has to do with wealth building, I would love for you to seriously consider keeping your house long-term as a rental. The old wise man, very rich guy, told me, Todd, when you buy real estate, never, ever sell it. Now, he was being a little over the top, but he was multi-millionaire. So I listened. So, you know, just one quick story. I bought my first house in 95 for $126,000. And I had that house for years and years, ever since. And now it's worth about $460,000. I put, including closing costs and down payment, $6,000 or $7,000 down. So where else could I take $6,000 and say 25 years later, it's worth, about $400,000. I can't tell you. I'm a professional investor. I cannot tell you where to get that rate of return except for long-term real estate. I can't tell you. You might get lucky and invent something or buy NVIDIA stock and it goes crazy. There are exceptions, but it's not that often. So that's my opening idea, is seriously consider keeping it. You can do things like bridge loans. You can take out a second mortgage or a HELOC that we can help you with so that you can take some money out for the down payment on a new house and still rent it for plenty of cash flow because rents have gone through the roof. So my idea is strategize with us so that you can keep it and then, you know, literally keep it 20, 30 years. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you would ever regret that decision, but it's the harder decision, and that's why people don't do it. I don't know how to do rentals. You can hire a property manager. You can hire someone to do it for you. You could do it yourself. Maybe one of the spouses stays at home. They got plenty of time to manage it. So is it a little more complicated? Yeah. But last time I looked, you didn't get paid a bunch of money for free. So it's going to take a little elbow grease, but it's not that hard. So that's my big idea on this subject. Robyn, give us some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I think, you know, I agree with you, Todd. I think that, you know, you are naturally, and I say this to clients just because I think we all know different pieces of who we are. And, you know, myself becoming a young adult when we bought our first home, you know, we were living in a situation, Todd, where it was like, hey, we bought our first home. I'm like you, I made a ton of money just 2.5 years later. But in order to get into our next house, we pretty much had to leverage that sale. And that was a pretty much requirement. Now, for our life, we had triplets, and unexpectedly, and all of a sudden it was like we were busting at the seams, right? We were crawling all over each other, going a little bananas, and it grown in other ways. And so it really made sense. Now, if I was financially aware of all the lessons that I had now, we would have kept that house, because you're exactly right. We paid about $135,000 for it. Back, that is exactly what we paid. And today it's probably worth right around $425,000. That just crazy, right? So that short-term money that I was able to pull out of it, man, it just would have continued to grow and grow and grow. And so I think that a part of that is, and you do a great series that is offered to all of our past clients that we can get to you guys anytime. Just hit us up and, on Summit Funding, you can find our emails online and all those things. Mastering money, right? Mastering money, building wealth through real estate, like lots of things that are talked about. I think for a lot of people, there's two areas. I'm with you on that challenge idea. The other part is the desire, if you will. In order to own a rental, you need to have a little bit of cushion, right? You need to have a little bit of reserves to take on more debt, right? Or you can get yourself in trouble really, really quickly. And so you do have to have more preparation. I think the lack of patience is in the preparation to get there, right? That came very naturally to you because that's how you make your financial decisions. I don't think it comes naturally to everybody. And I think the other piece of it is that emotionally, there's a lot of people that are like, hey, I'm going to stay in my house because my rate is so low. I would challenge that. Yeah, one, what a great way to keep your house. I mean, having renters that are paying your house off at 2-something% or 3-something%, like what a beautiful gift. Never have to touch that mortgage. What a great time to hold that real estate. But to stay there yourself, it's really not fitting your needs for a million different reasons. Why wouldn't you look at buying? And like you said, I just think people don't take all things into account. Have you ever seen somebody make a whole bunch more money and decide to ultimately get into, and this can go both ways, a larger house because they needed more of a tax write-off? They had none. What do you think of that strategy?
There's a mixed strategy with that. So if you talk about it in simple terms, let's say that I buy a bigger house to get a bigger tax write-off. There is real value there. So if I'm in a high tax bracket and I'm paying 7% on a mortgage, and for me, I live in California and I'm in the high tax bracket. So I pay about 50%.
Yeah.
It's almost 50% of my income goes to taxes. So when I have that 7% loan, and it's really like a 3.5% type loan after my write-off. So there's obviously rules to it. There's limitations, but there is, that commonly becomes a way that people talk themselves into it.
Well, I was just going to say, you can.
I would make that the basis of the decision.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Now, on the other side of it, I've seen people and countless people, when you have unstable income or not a stable change in income that is not only going to be potentially long-term, I know nothing's guaranteed, but how many people, will give it an example, lending in real estate took off like a rocket ship during COVID. Lots of different wages did, right? In many different areas. And so as that happened, a lot of people jump into much bigger price ranges, right? Like quickly. Potentially it's truly market driven, right? Truly market driven. And then you are strapped with not only your really low interest rate, which is awesome, but a house payment that still might be ultimately too much for what your average over years income is going to become. It's an interesting thing. And I think we've seen it happen to a multitude of people that potentially would have some highs and lows with different market conditions. And so when I think about people moving in general, I think you've got to have kind of the classic T chart, if you will, right? What are our pros and what are our cons? And then what you really need, and again, this is going to feel very shameless plug, is you need to sit down, ideally face-to-face at a minimum on Zoom, with a live professional that is going to help you ask questions that maybe you're not even thinking of, right? It's not should I move or should I not move? It's, do I have all the information I need to make the most educated decision? And as much as, it would be like me deciding about a surgery for myself and not having very much information. Well, do you want the surgery or not? I don't know. I think I probably need a lot of info, right? But you imagine if they were like, well, look some up and see what you come up with, right? Go with some of your feelings. Like, I'd be like, I don't know. I'm really not feeling good about this one. I really think that people underestimate the value of truly a loan consultation could mean you decide not to do anything. But spending time with a professional in different areas of your life that you need that additional assistance is a really critical part, I think, of making a sound decision.
Yeah, let me bring up two topics on this that one's factual based, one is feelings based. So, and I'm going to use myself as an example. And I want to be careful of this because I'm going to use my real numbers, and I don't want to come across as braggart. They're just the numbers. So let's deal with the feelings first.
Okay.
10 years ago, I built the dream house. Robyn's been there several times. When she comes in, she stays at my house. It's beautiful. Like, I mean,
Beautiful
it's
home.
like stunning. Matter of fact, I just had someone saw my house. Rumbar Wines came there, paid me money to film their commercial there in my backyard. Like, it's nice. Okay. There's not a day that I come home that I just don't burst with joy. Because it's got the 2-car garage, it's got the 4-car garage, it's got the guest house, it's plenty of room. I'm having a big party on Saturday for the Masters weekend, and a bunch of guys coming over, plenty of room, big screen TVs. Like, it's cool. Like, it is cool. So there's an emotional win. Now, I just sold another asset yesterday that I didn't like. It didn't bring me joy. And so I sold it. But my house never felt that way. Never once. That's the emotional piece. Because it's where you live.
Yes.
Right? We spend most of our time at home.
Yeah.
And to live in a super cool place is fun. And it, you know, family gatherings, Easter, I must have had 20 family members in my house.
Weddings and fundraisers and
Okay.
I mean, the amount of use that you've allowed your house to bring joy to other people and help them out has been a really cool thing to watch and see too. And you should be proud of that. That's awesome.
It's cool. So now listen, here's the number side. And this is where sometimes people don't think about this. So, and again, I'm going to use my real number. So I built that house from scratch. That house to the penny was $2.6 million 10 years ago to build it from scratch. It's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
That house today, 10 years later, is worth $5 million.
Mm-hmm. You double.
So I made almost $2.5 million on that investment.
Mm-hmm.
I paid it off a few years ago. So now it's really an asset worth $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I would have bought the $1 million house, it would now be worth $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of making $2.5 million that I'd made, I would have made $1 million because that's how real estate leverage works.
Yes.
So it is a little counterintuitive, and I'm not saying go buy the Taj Mahal. Don't be house poor.
Yeah.
I never would suggest that. So that's not what I'm saying.
I was going to say, what we're not telling you is how financially prepared Todd was and how financially conservative he was when he made that decision to build a $2.6 million house.
Good job.
People underestimate that. Another topic.
Very, very, very financially conservative. Like,
yes.
I think I have the first penny I made. So it was a big decision.
Uh-huh.
But from an investment standpoint, it was the right decision.
Yes.
And from a feeling standpoint, it was the right decision. So a lot of this depends on your situation. Let me just quickly brainstorm some things because there's a lot of things that people don't know. Americans have $28 trillion in real estate equity in their homes. It's never been close to that. That's a huge number. So we're fat cats in the house. Like, it's hard to talk to someone that doesn't have 100, 200 grand, 300 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand with the equity. So because homes have appreciated so much. So that's great. You can use HELOCs and second mortgages to take cash out of those homes and use it to buy rentals, buy the next house. You could use it. I got a buddy of mine builds 40 ADUs, accessory dweller units. They're like granny flats in back of your house, stick built. They're beautiful. For 250 grand, you stick one in your backyard and you put grandma and grandpa back there. You put mom and dad back there. You put it in back of your house and rent it as to renters, right? So there's creative things to do there. Loan programs have come a long way. We have bank statement loans for self-employed people where you don't need any tax returns. You don't need any income documentation except for bank statements. We're just looking at your bank statements to see if you can afford it. There's foreign national loans. There's I-10 loans for people that don't have social security numbers. There's DSCR loans, which are, as long as the property rents for enough, we don't care what you make in income. So you could use some of your equity to buy rentals. So there's a lot of things that you can sit down with a Summit Funding loan officer and strategize about and just brainstorm this stuff. It doesn't cost you any money. And then the last thing before we sign off, I did develop a whole program called Mastering Money.
Wow.
I took slices of that, and it's called the Wealth Starter Kit.
Yeah.
It's free to all of our past clients. It's free. If I sold that, I'd sell it for like $1,000. Okay. It's totally free. All you got to do is shoot me a email, and I will email it to you for free, zero cost. Just remind me you're a past client of Summit. My email is tscrima@summitfunding.net. So tscrima@summitfunding.net. Shoot me an email. I'll send it to my team, and they'll get you that for free. And it has a lot of these strategies that I just mentioned in there, real case studies that you can watch on screen and be like, whoa, I never thought of that. Whoa, I never thought of that. It's a really cool tool that we are honored to give to our past clients. It's very fun, and I get a lot of accolades and thanks for that. So take advantage of that if you're thinking of any of these things, or even if you're not, just for your own education. So is it time to move up or not? We don't know. Depends on your situation, depends on your family.
Here's the punchline. We have no idea.
We have no idea, because it's so specific to yourself.
It is.
But I think this is a fun podcast to do to get people thinking about different things. Let me end with a quick story, because this is a story of creativity. One of our dear friends works for us in Kansas, and she calls me and she's like, my husband and I are thinking of building this house. And she's like, I don't think I should do it. So I said, hey, get your husband on the line. Let's just have a call in the evening and figure it out. So come to find out, I think it was like 40 acres or something. So they do a little research. I'm like, hey, you can build your dream house. You guys got plenty of income. They're very financially conservative. They did build their dream home. But before they bought the piece of land, we figured out that it was subdividable. I said, guys, here's what you're going to do. You're going to build your dream home. It's going to take you a couple years. You're going to subdivide that land. You're going to sell 30 1-acre parcels to people that want to build their dream home. Like maybe you keep 10 acres, but you can give up the other 30 acres and you'll make 2, 3, 4 million. So light bulbs went off and they're like, okay, that's a great idea. So sometimes you just got to talk to someone that's in the business that understands these strategies, and light bulbs start coming off. So then she said, I'm still scared. I said, well, I was scared to have my first child. Well, I was scared to go away to college. I was scared to start my first business. Like, you got to take some risk in order to get reward. That doesn't mean dumb risk. That doesn't mean stress yourself out about your payments, but it does mean some risk. And that there is no reward if you're not feeling uncomfortable. So just realize that I tell people, when you feel uncomfortable, you're learning and growing.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to buy your first rental, buy a move-up home if it's appropriate, put a granny flat in back of your house. Like all those things you should be considering. And I just see people, they don't know how to do it, and so they don't ever do it. And then when they get to retirement, they're like, I got $1 million. If I would have done 2 moves, I could have had 3 million.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
So don't be so conservative that you're like I was stressed out building my $2.6 million house, super stressed. And I'm like, well, I did it. I got plenty of capital. I mean, it's going to be fine. And it turned out great.
Yeah.
Both emotionally and financially. So I think you have to educate yourself before you make decisions, get specific.
Yeah.
And part of that is meeting with someone.
Yeah.
In Summit Funding, hopefully.
Yeah.
That can help you with some of these strategies. But you'll be surprised when you go outside yourself and you get someone else involved, what you can dream up and really start thinking about. You don't have to do anything. Maybe you sit on the idea for 6 months as it percolates in your head. I'm not saying go out tomorrow and buy a bigger house, but no risk, no reward.
Yeah.
And there comes a point you got to take a little bit of risk.
And you've always got to balance facts with feelings. And I think that that's a weakness in general. And I think that it's something we struggle challenging each other on sometimes, of like, hey, all the feelings totally valid, right? Like valid people have feelings. I tease Todd all the time. He doesn't think we should, but we do. So feelings are there, but if you can add facts, it's funny how that helps the feelings it be validated, if you will, right? Like, oh, you know what? I should be scared actually because I'm unprepared, right? Like I'm actually making too big of a jump. Okay, now I need to go reassess. Or, gosh, I shouldn't be scared at all because now that I see all these facts, it makes perfect sense. And I'm prepared and I'm ready to roll. And anytime you're making big decisions, I think when you can weigh those two things out and have it like you just said, a professional helping you ask questions, poke holes, challenge, discuss, and help you land in a place, I think that's where you really end up winning with your decisions.
Yeah. Last brainstorm, and then we'll sign off. If let's say, in addition to meeting with Summit, you're thinking of making a move, invite over 3 of your friends that have a fairly high net worth, like a lot more than you. Ask them, hey, I'm thinking of making this decision. What do you think? You'll find that most people that have a decent net worth, say 2, 3, 4, 5 million or more, they own real estate. Almost always. And so don't just take it from one person. People that say, hey, and this is touchy because people never want to talk about money. It's appropriate, I think. Say, hey, John, you own 4 or 5 rentals, don't you? And you own your own business. Yeah. You mind if I ask you what your net worth is? 5 million. Can we have dinner? I want to pick your brain. My net worth's 500,000. I'm thinking of making some moves. Like, I'm just telling you, that's the kind of things you got to do in order to make progress, is educate yourself, meet with people who have done it.
Well, and I guarantee you a lot of these past clients, Todd, you guys just, if you're listening, you might be like, whoa, I just bought my first house, right? Like I'm okay. I guarantee you, hey, maybe you're making $30,000, $40,000 and you just spent all your money on your first house and you're making your first house payment. Probably know somebody who's already bought their second house, right? Who's already gotten a few promotions at their job. And I think what Todd's saying is a whole nother podcast that, we can send out. And I think we've done them before, just around, hey, not only, yes, your own friends, family, and all those things, but always somebody that is at a higher level than you in many different areas is a good person to consult with, to, try to rub shoulders with, if you will, have conversations with, so that you can learn and think bigger, and have some strategy around it as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Annie. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for your business. Feel free to reach out to me for the Wealth Starter Kit, and have a beautiful month. Bye, guys.